Hello, I'm Amanda West, and I will be discussing the literary movement, the Beat Generation. The Beat Generation was a literary movement in the 1950s that redefined what American culture was. This movement was not only about literature, but featured other types of media like music and film. But I'm going to focus more on the literary aspect, in which writers wrote about different subjects that were not always in line with society at the time. And they were even a bit taboo for some audiences. They wrote about political, cultural, and social issues that resonated with many young audiences at the time, defying what would be considered to be normal. Therefore, this movement and generation was very influential in paving the way for many future writers and ideas. Next, there is clear context that shows why this movement was started and why it was influential. This movement took place during the 1950s, after World War II, and during the Cold War, in which after the war, the sense of conformity and white picket fence life was imminent, since the war was over and the economy was flourishing. Furthermore, the idea of nonconformity is an important aspect during that time, which stems from the aftermath of the war in America, specifically when analyzing the societal expectations. In addition, it was common for people to go to college, get married, have kids, and live out the rest of their life. Consequently, when that is the case, everyone is the same externally, where they are missing the component that makes them specifically unique from everyone else. In fact, this is one of the major ideas of the Beat movement, nonconformity. Therefore, contextual evidence is crucial when looking at this literary movement so that you can see some of the factors that went into this movement and why it was so important for its time. During this time, there were a variety of issues that writers in the Beat movement highlighted through their writing, in which writers pushed the envelope regarding ideals that American society deemed as acceptable. More specifically, these writers focused on social and political issues of the time, which I will go into more detail later. Furthermore, people were expected to conform and be the same type of person as everyone else, which this movement clearly is trying to shed light on that and do the opposite. For instance, they wrote about homosexuality and nonconformity, were two major topics that authors wrote about during this time, where they tried to defy the expectations that the older generation would expect, in which these are ideas that are particularly highlighted in works of Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, and William S. Burroughs, as I will talk about now. Now, I will discuss Jack Kerouac's 1957 novel, On the Road, which is one of the most prominent pieces of literature that came out of this literary movement, in which what makes this novel stand out from the rest of the pieces in this movement is the fact that Kerouac discusses the themes of dissatisfaction and madness, which are ideas that were true to this movement and really resonated with many audiences. For instance, with the characters of Sal and Dean, they feel dissatisfied with the type of relationships that they have in addition to where they are in their life. Also, on the theme of madness, the characters' lives are filled with chaos, drugs, and alcohol, which can make anyone's life pretty chaotic and mad, in which this not only leads to the madness in their life, but how Sal comes to idolize Dean in an unhealthy way. Therefore, Kerouac discusses important social issues during that time that are highlighted in this specific novel. Lastly, there is Allen Ginsberg's powerful poem, Howl, that highlights many of the topics and issues that were happening during the Beat Generation, in which this poem is clearly political and socially fueled, with its true rage and passion that Ginsberg displays. He clearly writes and expresses many political and social issues that were happening in America during that time. For instance, with the topic of homosexuals and how they were not accepted in society and more or less exiled, in which Ginsberg was in fact a homosexual, which made this topic even more important to him. Also, Ginsberg clearly conveyed his dissatisfaction of a capitalistic society in America by using biblical references to Moloch and using a lot of repetition with that specific biblical reference and detesting the capitalistic system, in which Ginsberg clearly expresses his views and discusses what he thought was wrong with American society at that time, and does so poetically. Therefore, Ginsberg's poem was a crucial part to the Beat generation by redefining the social standards at that time. Thank you for watching.